Where's the best place to park my truck? On this episode of Driven Too Far, we're talking about the hidden crisis in trucking, and that's where to park our trucks. Hello, I'm Andrew Winkler with Chief Carriers, and this is Driven Too Far, the truth about trucking, a podcast that helps over-the-road truck drivers balance career and family. Hey, welcome back to Driven Too Far. On today's episode, we're talking about truck parking and what a hassle it's become. We're going to hit that from two different angles. So we're talking about overnight parking when you're out on the road. How do you find the best parking spots? And the other side of that is what happens when you go home? Are you able to take your truck and trailer home? And if so, where do you park it? So when did parking become such an issue, right? I think it's a national issue. You've been hearing about it. We've been hearing about it for many, many years now. And there was some legislation passed back in 22 and 23 to try help and ease some of the parking situation, but it doesn't really feel like anything's changed that much, does it? It's just that it's not a fast fix. When you think about it, they said, okay, here's some funds to go build some more truck parking. It's just not going to be a fast process. When you think about construction and everything that needs to happen to make that go. On the other side of that, a lot of times drivers park at truck stops, obviously. Are the truck stops willing to expand? And what's in it for them? And many times the cost of expanding the parking doesn't justify the expense that they would have to. So they shy away from it. Super frustrating when you're running up and down the interstate and you say, oh, rest area in 2 miles, and you get there and it says, this rest area is closed. So I get your frustrations. It's a pain in the what, but I think from the driver's point of view and the company's point of view, what it really does is the driver's hesitant to run out his hours because they're so worried, and it's in the back of your mind probably every day, like, where am I going to park tonight? How far can I get? If you run some regular routes, you probably know which truck stops are going to have some room and things like that. So maybe that helps you plan. But if you're an irregular route carrier or driver and you're going different places every week, you're not as familiar where those places are to park. One of the things that has happened here in the last couple of years is there's start to become some out of the box type thinking, meaning from people kind of outside the industry recognize the problem and they step in and say, man, what can we do to help these drivers and kind of solve some of these issues? So one of the things I'm aware of is a organization called truckparkingclub.com. And I thought this was kind of cool. I don't know that we use them a lot, but at least somebody's out there thinking about, people own all this land, and maybe they own land near or close to highway interstate systems, something like that. If it's just sitting there idle, how could they make some money doing that? So that's what this Truck Parking Club did, is they recognize that, and they go out and talk to property owners and say, hey, would you be interested in developing a small piece of your land to let trucks park there overnight for fees? Obviously, there's got to be some income for that landowner to do it. But at least somebody's out there thinking, right? Because it doesn't seem like the government's working fast enough to get anything done. Now, the trick to that is a lot of times these are just fenced in gravel lots. They may not have any facilities. So no restrooms, no showers, nothing like that. It's just simply a lot in the middle of nowhere that you can park. So does it make sense for you? I don't know. You'll have to get online and kind of check out their facilities in the different areas and what that takes. But at least somebody's making an effort towards it. Then you always wonder about the shipper and the receiver angle. I think some of them have started to loosen up a little bit more, some pressure from carriers and maybe the government a little bit too. But, it's as a driver, you're trying to pre-plan your trip, right? And the best case scenario is that you arrive 10 hours ahead of your appointment time, get your break in. So when your appointment's at 7 a.m, you essentially have a fresh set of hours to go to start your day. But then you find out the receiver doesn't allow parking on site or something like that. So that's really disappointing when they don't do that. And we've all heard the stories about not having facilities available for a driver that needs to use a restroom or something like that. Well, I tell you what we've done over the years is stuff we've black mark those type of receivers or companies, and we just simply don't do business with them. If you can't treat our drivers right and help us and just be good human beings, then we don't really need to do business with you. So I I totally get that and understand that. But unfortunately, there's a lot of them still out there that they're huge companies, and this is just their policy, and no truck drivers allowed type stuff. And it's super disappointing that we're still having to deal with that in this day and age. The other thing is the home time parking, right? So you started with a carrier, maybe they're not close to you. You're driving for a carrier that their home base is 500 miles from your house, something like that. Now they allow you to take the truck and trailer home when you have home time, but where do you park it? And that's another problem we've seen too. For us, it's always it's an arrangement with the driver. We say, listen, we'll let you take the truck home, but you have to have permission. You have to have a safe and secure place to park it, and you need to have permission from the property owner. Or is it maybe you live in a small town, so maybe you need to have permission from the city government or the village or something like that. Where will they allow you to park that's not going to cause a problem for people? It's, most of the time it works out pretty well, but here and there, once in a while, we get a truck that'll get a boot put on it. It'll get towed. We'll get calls from the local police department saying you got 24 hours to get this truck moved. And then it's always a struggle. The driver's on vacation. How do we get a hold of him? How are we going to move this? So it's a challenge for both you as the driver and the trucking company themselves. So it's really important that you have an idea what you're going to do ahead of time. Otherwise, seriously, the best advice is you should be working for a carrier that is probably within 50 miles of your home. And in most cases, there are truck lines out there, but it's just such a difference when you can park that truck at the terminal while you're on your home time. The maintenance department gets all your PMs and your maintenance stuff done while you're at home, and it doesn't cost you extra home time that way, or extra away time that way. So anyways, the home time thing is real too, but it often comes back to the driver. Again, this truck parking club might be one of the things. So I think it's something you just got to Google out there. There's more than just truck parking club. There's Park My Rig, and there's a couple other ones out there too, but Google it. There's some new solutions out there. Don't try the Walmart. Some of them will let you get away with it if you're just there for a short period of time and you're staying in the truck or with the truck. But don't think you can just park the truck and go home for a couple days or something like that. You'll come back to a truck with a boot on it, I'm sure. Now, what about the pay for parking? Whether it's a truck parking club or maybe it's the truck stops themselves. We know over the last couple of years, they've come up with these plans where you can reserve parking, park ahead or reserve ahead type stuff. I can tell you when that stuff first came out, I was mad. I was like, are you kidding me? They're going to start charging our drivers, to park there, figuring we're already buying fuel. The driver's probably going inside and eating a meal or grabbing supplies and maybe taking a shower and all those things. And here they're going to turn around and charge us $20 or $25, whatever it is a night to start parking. But then I kind of look at it through a different lens. And I just said, you know what? Here's the deal. This has become such an issue with the drivers that I know how drivers are starting to think is like, man, I better shut down by 3:00 in the afternoon so I can get a good parking place at the TA or whatever it is. Otherwise, if I wait till 6 or 7 past dinner hour, I might not find a spot for the night, and then I'll be in trouble. I'll be over my log hours, all those things that tend to happen. So I looked at that, and I don't know why the light bulb went on for me, or maybe somebody hit me up the head. But it was maybe that $20 is worth it. Because it was all of a sudden, if you can get another 100 miles down the road and that's more revenue on the truck and it's more money in your pocket, maybe that's $20 well spent. So that's kind of our new approach to things. If a driver needs parking and they call ahead and they reserve a spot and they turn in a receipt to us, we will reimburse them for that. Now, do I think you need it every time? Probably not. It kind of depends on what area of the country you're in. We're in the Midwest and the Great Plains. There's a lot of space or more space. You get to more congested areas like the East Coast. Yeah, I can definitely see where you would need it. There's a lot more truck traffic out there. Once in a while, we have a driver come through orientation and say, oh, yeah, I got a place I can leave my rig and stuff like that. But the owner of the property wants, man, it could be anywhere from $100 to $400 a month type thing to park. And you start looking at that and weighing that going, let's see, you're going to go home a couple times a month and $400. Are you kidding me? So those things have to be, worked out between you and your carrier and stuff. And I can tell you that we typically don't participate in that one. That's up to the driver to figure out how to secure that rig on their home time. There may be some companies out there willing. to do that. Maybe you can cut a deal. Maybe you find somewhere that somebody wants to charge you to park the rig over the weekends or something. Say, listen, dude, the truck's only going to be here 4 days out of the month. Can we come up with a better rate? So don't be afraid to ask some questions like that as well. Now, there's the safety side of parking. That's probably something else I should have mentioned when we were talking about who pays for the parking. But I don't know about you guys, but I think our most common accident in our whole fleet is getting our hood ripped off in a truck stop by some other carrier. And I don't know why this has become such a problem. Maybe I do. Maybe I can guess why it's become such a problem. But I don't remember it happening that often in the past, but just over the last several years, it seems like it's crazy. I don't know where a safe place is to park in the truck stop that you're not, putting yourself at risk. And the downside to that is a lot of times it happens in the middle of the night and the truck, somebody cuts a corner too close and clips your front, the hood of your truck on their way out with their trailer. And I don't know if they really don't know what happened or if they're just, I'm not stopping, hammer down type stuff. So it seems like about 50% of the time when it happens, we're able to get another carrier on the hook for the accident and the damage. And the other 50%, you're in the bunk. It probably knocked you out of the bunk or scared the heck out of you by the time you get your shorts on and get out the door to see what the name of that carrier was that just took your hood with them. It's too late. So anyways, it's disappointing. Sometimes the dash cams can catch some things and help, but a lot of times, they don't click on fast enough to do that too. But so safety is a big deal. Your safety. I know parking on the on-ramps on the interstate, some states allow it, some don't. That's always a safety issue, concern. Definitely don't park on an exit ramp. That's where have seen a lot of accidents happen over the years where people they come off the interstate too fast and not paying attention to what they're doing and get too close and sideswipe you or something like that. So that's definitely not a safe place to park. What I would do if I were you is go talk to your safety director, your safety manager, safety director, whatever it is, and try to come up with a solution for you. Yeah, they probably have a policy already in place for that. Can you fit within that policy? Does it help you? Does it give you a safe place to park? If it doesn't, go have a conversation, especially if they say they don't want to pay for any parking. Give them the justification I just gave you. That's where I would start with it and just say, listen, if you would pay that $20, if I could get that reimbursed, I could get another 100 miles down the road. And in the name of productivity, customer on-time service, and safety and all those things, I think it's worth you helping me find that $20. Maybe you split it. I don't know what kind of solution you'll come up with, but the point is go have the conversation and don't be afraid to ask, because I think you got a great argument there. There should be nothing more important than your safety as a driver. So final thoughts to kind of wrap up on truck parking is don't leave it to chance. Plan ahead. Make sure that's part of your route planning for the day. If you're going somewhere you're familiar with, you probably know. If you don't, take some extra time to figure that out. Is making a reservation at a truck stop worth your while? And I think even sometimes, if you're on their apps, TA and Pilot and some of those guys, if I'm not mistaken, they'll even let you use some of your points to help pay for some of that parking. Always get an argument from the driver. No, those are my points. I don't want to spend them on parking. I get it. But, maybe if your company, again, doesn't reimburse for that type of stuff, maybe those are points well spent. You can buy your soda for $2, but use the points to pay for your parking so you can, again, get further down the road and make a little more money on the paycheck. So think about it differently. And then be proactive on the home time parking. Again, don't just think, oh, there's a dead end street at the end of my town, I'll park it there and not say anything. Or I've seen another driver park their rig there. Don't leave it to chance. Be proactive, figure out where you're parking it, who owns the land, go ask permission. If they don't allow it, maybe they can help you, figure something out, or there are other professional drivers in your area, in your city, your town, something like that. Just have a conversation. Somebody's got a piece of property out there. I'm sure they're more than willing to help you, and it's not going to hurt anybody. Maybe they won't even charge you for it, but make sure you're having those conversations ahead of time, because I can tell you the tow bills and getting them out of Hawk is really expensive, and nobody wants to pay that bill. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Driven Too Far. For more resources, check out our show notes.